Hi guys, I'm Carly and I'm here today to talk about self-care. I think self-care has always been important, like even like before the pandemic, self-care has been important to kind of like find time for yourself, find time to reset. But I think it's especially important now more than ever because things are changing at like an unprecedented rate. Like things are always changing, you're always hearing different things in the news. You really don't know what you're going to expect that day. And it can be scary, like the pandemic and everything going on can be scary, but I think that self care kind of grounds you and helps you remember that, like, it's gonna be okay, even though there's all this craziness going on. Um, so, yeah, I think it's definitely important now more than ever to participate in self care and kind of pay attention to like what your needs are. Because at the end of the day, like, you know your needs better than anybody else. And in order to help other people in your life and the people that you love, it's important that you know that you're okay. And it's okay to not be okay, but I think self care is like a step to kind of getting into a good place where you are in the position to help others, which is kind of like what I feel like a lot of people's goals are in life. I think that self care can look different for people. Like for me, I like to take naps or go out and get a coffee as for self care. But I know other people like to hang out with their friends or watch movies, kind of do things of that sort. So it kind of like depends on what you like to do as a form of self care. And I think anything can count as self care as long as like you're doing something that you like, kind of as a break from like different things that are going on in your life. Along with that, I think it's good to practice it regularly. For me, I love my morning routine. My morning routine kind of like helps me make sure I'm on like a good foot for the day. It kind of like makes me feel good about myself, which makes me like prepared for the day and motivated to kind of tackle anything that happens, which like I said earlier, like you never know what's going to happen throughout these crazy days, but my morning routine helps me like feel prepared for the day. So kind of like the regularity of like I always know what's going to happen in the morning. So that's kind of like what I consider like my self-care in the morning. It's kind of like waking up, brushing my teeth, making breakfast. That kind of stuff makes me feel like good inside, which counts as self-care. So like kind of with that, anything can count as self-care. And it's important to know like what you like for like what you like to do for your self-care, because like I said earlier, everybody's can look differently, and it's okay to do something and it not be like your ideal form of self-care. Like for example, I used to think that watching TV was like my self-care. I'd like study and go to work, and then I'd come home and be like, okay, I'm gonna watch TV, and that's gonna be my like little break in the day. But after a while, I kind of realized that like watching TV doesn't really do much for me. It's kind of like after I watch TV, I feel like more tired and not really like energized. So I kind of realized that that wasn't a good form of self-care for me. So I think it's also important to pay attention to yourself and to like what you need, because like I said earlier, I like taking naps. So that's kind of what I felt was like a good reset for me. I felt like after I take naps, I'm not feeling tired, not feeling bad about myself like I do when I watch TV. I feel like energized and motivated to kind of take on the day, take the rest of the day because it's a nap. But yeah, I think that's important. And I think it's also important to respect other people's forms of self-care. Like, for example, if you ask like one of your friends to hang out and they're like, hey, like I'm not really feeling up to it right now, I think you need to, like, people in general need to kind of respect that and understand that like everybody's needs are different. Like they might not be in the best headspace right now, they might not want to hang out with people, they might need time to do self-care, because like I said, like everybody kind of experiences the world differently, so everybody has different like needs for their self-care. So I think that's important as well, to be kind of like understanding and cognizant of what other people are going through and what they may need. I think it's also important to remember that self-care, like in my mind, when I think of self-care, I think of physical activities, like I think of my routine. I think of taking naps. But I think it's also important to remember that self-care can come in kind of any form. And it's important to do it in like some other situations as well, not only when you're by yourself. Like, for example, if you're taking a big test or something that you're nervous for, like taking a deep breath or practicing mindfulness can be forms of self-care to help you like get through what you're going through. Because at the end of the day, when we're in school, you don't really have like alone time during those 8 hours to like do something by yourself, a quiet activity, something to make you like refocus. But you do have time to like take a few deep breaths or practice mindfulness or spend like a moment just like with your thoughts. So I think that's also important, is to kind of find things that work for you throughout the day. I I feel like we often practice like mindful breathing and mindful activities, like in nutrition and fitness I know we do that, and in health class we did that. I think in my English class you did it too. So it's like I feel like everybody knows what mindful breathing and mindful activities are, but it's just hard to apply them into our daily lives, which it can feel kind of like weird or uncomfortable to like sit in class and like take a deep breath because you feel like everybody's like looking at you and everybody's watching. But the truth is that nobody's really looking or watching. Everybody's kind of focused on their own stuff and they're in the zone, they're in the school zone, and you need to do what you need to do to get in the same zone. And I think that mindful activities help with that. Just to kind of like rephrase, like everybody knows what mindful activities are and mindful breathing is, but it's kind of applying that. That's the hard step that I feel like a lot of people forget about, but it's very important in self-care to me. Yeah, so that kind of wraps up my thoughts about self-care and my definition of self-care. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves during these crazy times, and that you reach out to somebody if you're struggling, and know that it's okay to not be okay, and everybody needs help sometimes. So remember to focus on yourselves because you guys all matter, and yeah, have a great 2021.